Hello and welcome back to my channel, and thanks for joining me with my basic fantasy solo campaign. We are now well into the campaign. It is now episode 5. I think this is going to be a double session. It's going to be a back-to-backer. What I've done is I've expanded the Wraithfield segment. I was having so much fun generating Wraithfield. It was just producing a lot of interesting content for myself, and I just kept on bouncing these ideas off, and I thought, right, this is going to be quite fun for me to experiment with. And we haven't really done as much social interaction as I do in some of my other campaigns, so I thought, right, what I'm going to do, the neat solution to that is to have a double session, and I think this is a point I can take forward for a lot of my other campaigns. Well, not when I say a lot, a few of my campaigns where I have not taken it all the way through to the point where we're actually adventuring before it gets subsumed into the schedule. So I probably the main culprit for that currently, I would say, is probably well, there's BX, which I have really quite developed over quite a long period of time, and it's only recently that I have actually got into a dungeon. Yeah. And one of the main catalysts for that was this basic fantasy, the fact that I could not, surely could not have basic fantasy pipping BX to the post. So that is being a bit of a catalyst for my BX campaign, and also my Stormbringer campaign. I think I really want to start adventuring with that too, so I might produce a few special ones to get that up to speed too. And I think that's what I want to do in all my campaigns in future, is if I release a new one, it will go all the way through to where we start adventuring before it gets subsumed into the overall schedule. So that being said, let us have a recap on the situation. The characters, they arrived in the bustling, chaotic and rundown town of Dunmere. Having found the Rusted Lantern Inn, which acts as a haven for adventurers, they managed to secure employment in the neighbouring village of Wraithfield. They travelled the next day, and like their other journeys in the Dark Realm, they see a world in decline, the lands having seen their best days. Signs of creeping corruption and the spread of stagnant fens taint any sense of pleasure in their travel. And this is a characteristic of this world. This really is a world in decline. It's had its best days. They are in the past. This spreading corruption, stagnant fens, and who knows what's happened to this world. Has it been some form of divine retribution, or even just it could even be a cataclysm that's happened. Because I was watching a video about, if you've ever read Cormac McCarthy's The Road, that is a very dismal post-apocalyptic future, and it never really specifies what causes the the catastrophe. It could be something like one of the, I think, the more popular ones is that there was an asteroid hit, and it's basically blighted the world. It's created almost like a nuclear winter without all the radiation or whatever, and everything's died. And maybe this isn't quite as severe, but there's bound to be some horrific supernatural side of it, cosmic interference. Maybe that is what is going on here. So with a fantasy world, you can add in all these other dimensions, and not just the physical environmental impacts that you could list for a post-apocalyptic. So that with that little interlude aside, during this journey, we learn more about our cleric Bartram. So we've got our four little characters, little pawns here. I've got my sheet for them, and we had a bit of an introduction to Rowena and Fenna, our two female characters, but we have not got round to introduce our cleric Bartram and our fighter Halmar. So we're going to find a bit more about Bartram as we are travelling along. And Bartram Ironmark is a man of noble bearing. his once fine vestments now weathered by travel, yet still worn with unmistakable pride. His features are stern but commanding, a hawkish gaze beneath a heavy brow, a neatly kept beard streaked with early grey. Born of the lesser nobility, Bartram carries himself as though still within the halls of power, expecting deference even from those who have never heard his name. Though his movements are stiff and deliberate, his words carry weight. When he speaks, others listen. His wisdom is tempered by arrogance. He believes himself chosen to restore dignity and order to a faith gone astray. To his allies, he is a pillar of conviction and calm. To his foes, an immovable judge. Yet beneath the armor of pride, there lingers a loneliness, the quiet burden of a man who cannot admit how far his world has fallen. So, like some of our other characters, he has a sadness over him. Like this world, there is a blight, and he is carrying some burden he cannot admit, and he sees this world and he thinks, this is very sad what has happened, but maybe there is a spark of hope that I can bring with my own little way something. And based on Bartram's attitude, he probably thinks he has a very good chance of doing that because he's got quite a high opinion of himself. So that's Bartram out the way. We've just got Halmar to do. I'm sure we can interject him at some later stage in the adventure. So, arriving in the village of Wraithfield, the village is a small settlement of crooked thatched houses standing on blackened stone foundations. The villagers are quiet, fearful folk clinging to ancient charms. Beneath the earth lies something older and more dangerous than their simple lives can bear. So this is where they've come to. This is going to be the center of adventure. The characters now recall some of the grim revelations the two villagers had related to them back in Dunmere. Yes, the sight of the village bring these thoughts starkly back into mind. So they are almost triggered by the sight of the village. It all becomes rather clear, rather cognizant in their mind. Ancient crypts beneath the village, yes, they remember that being told about. Tales that the ruins conceal a catacomb where a forgotten cult once served the witch kings. Disturbing this has awakened the hungry dead. Yes, we know about this. The blood drinker. Rumours of a fell creature stalking the foundations, feeding on livestock. There is a fear it is preparing for human prey. The whispering voice. Is there a bound spirit hiding beneath the ruins, calling to villagers in their sleep, seeking release? Well, these villagers were going on about all these three stories and more for all these strange events that were haunting and almost cursing this village. And they were pleading to the adventurers to come and help. They consider their strategy and they feel they need to extract some information from the villagers to gauge the potential threats and the likely entrance to the place of mystery. So, like all good adventurers, they are being thorough in their approach. They are going to, as part of their strategy, they're going to a bit more interrogation of the villagers, gauge what the threats are, do a bit of a risk assessment, and then, probably most importantly, actually find out how to get into this catacomb that they were talking about. The characters, when they arrive in the village, head towards the tavern, which one of the villagers in the Rusted Lantern had mentioned they would find suitable lodging. So they did promise that we would have board and hospitality when we arrived in the village, and we'd have a purse, a large purse of gold as a reward if we rid the village of this evil. Maybe we will get some other treasures that we can liberate from this place too. And we make our way to what is called the Barrow Light Inn. So not really a very inspiring name for a place of refuge. the barrowlight, but yes, needs must. The appearance of this inn is a leaning timber hall built on top of ancient stone foundations, its walls dark with age and smoke. A dim lantern burns before the door, said to be lit each dusk to keep the dead from wandering in. The floor creaks underfoot, and cold air seeps from the cellar, where the stones are older than memory. And this is going to be a characteristic of any buildings in Wraithfield. The foundations, they are very old. They are ancient stone. What is lurking beneath this village? Who decided to do do all the surveys and actually build all these houses on top of this? Yes. As maybe they had no option with the encroaching fens. This was the only area of dry land. The atmosphere, the hearth never quite warms the room. So, there is a roaring hearth, and we never really feel quite warm in this room. Patrons speak softly, eyes flicking towards the door with every gust of wind. A faint, constant hum can be heard from below. What is that hum? Though whether it's the wind through cracks or something older, none can agree. So this is a very strange place. And you might think, my goodness, Brian, what are you doing ratcheting on this this quite extraordinary atmosphere, and everything sounds quite macabre and grotesque. Well, this is the kind of atmosphere and almost the grotesque kind of world that I want to present to in this campaign. I really want it to be quite warped, quite unsettling. You never really feel that anything is, there's no black and white here. It's all very different shades of grey. Everything is potentially warped. Everything is potentially corrupted. You cannot. There's very little purity or innocence left in this world. I think that is going to be part of the role-playing experience, and that's what I want to try to inject. So this is all part of the course. This is going to be just, the Barrowlight Inn might be viewed as a wonderful haven after some of the places I am going to describe to you. The innkeeper, this is old Merith. She is a pale, stooped woman who rarely blinks and never leaves the inn after dark. She serves thin ale and black bread, claiming the land itself won't grow good grain anymore. So she's always muttering away, saying, I remember the time when we used to get very good bread and my ale was fantastic. And now it's, look at it, it's this thin ale I have to serve, and this awful black bread. But that is the fare that is on offer. One of the villagers they dealt with in Dunmere is already waiting in the tavern. Okay, his name is Godric Gloomvale. Right, well, that is an uplifting name for us to be greeted with. And he greets them with some welcoming words. Well, at least we've got a friendly welcome from someone who is familiar. He seems to be delighted to see us. He says, you honoured your promise. I am sure you will be rewarded. And once they have settled in and found their very sparse rooms, he agrees to show them around the village and point out where the villagers have encountered some strange occurrences. So this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted to be shown around and get a bit more intel on what we're going to be up against. And he says, best we take our tour before nightfall. It may sharpen your mind as to your plans for the morning. Yes, you took the words right out of our mouth, Godric. That is what we will do. And if we just move on to my next page, we're going to say, before we join him in our village tour, let us find out about the remaining party member, Halmar. Yes, his story is difficult to piece together, but here is a good attempt as any. So, what does this mean? Halmar Ravenscroft is a tall, broad-shouldered wanderer with the bearing of a fallen knight and the eyes of a man long accustomed to silence. His voice is calm and deep, his movements deliberate. a man who wastes neither words nor motion. Though blessed with a natural magnetism that draws others to him, Halmar rarely seeks company. He walks his own path, guided by conviction rather than reason. He understands strength and loyalty, but subtler matters, politics, faith, or deceit, pass him by like wind over stone. Many take his quiet for wisdom, though it is more the stillness of someone long detached from the world. He fights with a sense of duty he cannot name, as though bound to some forgotten oath. And when he looks into the firelight, it is as if he's seeing ghosts only he remembers. Yes, another sadness in the part. So that, apart from our jolly little thief Fenner, the rest of them are a bit dismal, a bit dreary. Halmar is very quiet. He is the brooding, quiet type. Bartram is quite self-opinionated. He is the proud noble. And then, of course, we had Rowena, who was our devout zealot, and has been really quite scarred by her upbringing, and the fact that she has, to some, a ghastly image, to many, she is quite a sight. And she also gives off an aura, maybe, of dread. We really have quite a combination of personalities and whatever, and I think I'm going to have quite a lot of fun playing them out in the role-playing dimension, and also in the dungeon environment too, and see how they react. And I'll be using their aspects to as much as I can, to the best of my ability, in the role-playing that we are going to be doing. So that being said, we are going to start our tour, and I thought the way I was going to do this would be I would select chips from the cup to determine the order that Godric shows our characters the various village locations that I have. So I have 5 different village locations, and I have a chit 1, and I have a chit 2, and I have a chit 3, and 4, and 5. And what I'll do is I will put them in my dice cup, and I will give them a bit of a shake, and then I'll put my fingers in and I will draw out the first one. And this is the first one that Godric takes us to see. So we're going to go and see number 4 first. Okay, so what does Godric show us first in his little guided tour of Wraithfield? And it is, if I just get my sheet of paper, it is the old chapel. Okay, so what does the old chapel have to say? So the old chapel is a roofless ruin overgrown with ivy. Its altar bears bloodstains that never fade. Okay, so we go, oh, so this is your local chapel, the old chapel. And he says, yes, but we do have, we have rebuilt a temporary chapel that we use. But this was the old one. It's now completely overgrown, as you can see. But it bears the altar, which has always got these bloodstains on it. How did that happen? We do not know. This goes way back into village history. And the local superstition, he mentions, never speak the dead's name here. So, this is really quite scary stuff. The first place you show us, Godric, really is quite... I don't think it's got any major leads for us, apart from the fact that it is a bit haunted. With these bloodstains, maybe they are... they sound quite supernatural, the fact that they never fade, even though you try to remove them. And probably it is wise that it has been abandoned and never built upon again. So having visited the old chapel, he then takes us to the next location on his tour. And we don't really feel like we've gained too much information, apart from the fact that this place is quite haunted. So we get number 1, and number 1 on our list is, okay, so we go into the center of the village and we come to the village green. And this is a circle of stones where no grass grows. So the actual words village green are a bit of they're really a bit of a contradiction, because there's no grass growing. It's just this circle of stones. He says, by day children dare each other to stand within it, but by night we believe ghost fires flicker here. So this is a place that is obviously a centre of attention by young children frolicking around during the day, but do not linger at night because of these ghost fires flickering. And rumours say the stones mark the old cult's altar. So he's got plenty of information there, and even something as straightforward as the village green has these standing stones, and there is an expectation from local lore that the old cult had their old altar centered in this space. So it's really looking rather grim, this place, and we've still got another 3 on our itinerary. So what are we going to go and visit next with Godric? I say, Godric, this is quite a place. And he says, well, yes, I agree. Number 5. And he said, well, we might be coming to what you would classify as the jackpot. These are ruined cellars. So he shows us several cottages that have collapsed into the ground. And we go, okay, nothing special here. But we do feel a sense, an aura of dread. This reveals an old stone stairway with sharp intake of breath. And he says, we believe that beneath this, following the staircase down, lies the ancient crypt. This is the true dungeon of Wraithfield. So have we made the grand discovery? This could be the location of the staircase down, and in true old school style we get the entrance to the dungeon revealed right before us. It is handed to us by Godric, good old Godric. He is a bit paraplectic. He is really quite shivery. We have our four characters, and they are braced. They can feel almost the sense, the aura of evil. And Godric is really quite, he's gone white as a sheet, as you see. He's saying, I must get away from here. This must be for you to penetrate the depths and rid this village of these foul creatures that emanate forth. And we say, yes, that is probably part of our brief, Godric. Do not worry. Do not be afraid. We are here. We are here to save the day, save Wraithfield from all your malign spirits. And then he says, right, let us quickly depart, and I will show you somewhere else. Number 3, we are going to go and see the Black Well. So this is, he explains, this is the village's only well. It's stone slick with moss. And water, he goes on to explain that water drawn at night sometimes turns red, then clears by dawn. And we think, oh, this is very, very strange. Our only surmising of this situation is that a spirit may dwell at its depths. And we say, oh, we concur with you, Godric. That sounds a very true thing. Potentially, if we penetrate this crypt, these catacombs, by going down the staircase, we can also ascertain whether this well system and the spirit that haunts it is linked to this. We might be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And he says, now you really are giving me a bit of confidence. I am happy. And we say, well, is there anywhere else for us to go and see, Godric? And he says, yes. I have one last place to show you, and that is chit number 2, and that is the Hollow Hall. And he says, right, and we see like this longhouse, and he says, well, this is used for meetings and feasts, but as you will see, there's some cracks in the floor, and we look through the cracks, and it actually reveals some old masonry beneath. and they are carved with strange runes. So, everywhere you go in this village, there are kind of cracks or fissures or some sort of entrance into this underworld. My goodness, the architects must have been going a bit crazy building this place here. And he says, quite often the villagers, they are whispering, they hear voices when gathered here. So this again seems like a haunted place. The rest of our village is unscathed for now, but we do feel that there is a creeping evil. There is more dread. Who would say that this fell creature is going to start killing human beings and not just animals? So we say, well, I think we can concur, Godric, that you do have a bit of a problem. Good job. We are here to hopefully save the day and do what all good adventurers do. It's, liberate this place of its secrets, liberate it of its treasure, and at the same time dispatch its denizens so that you're no longer plagued by them anymore. So with that information, now we've gone round the entire village now, and we do have quite a good feeling of what Wraithfield's all about. Returning to the inn with their minds set on a plan of action, because they have decided they can almost see the strategy opening up before them. We can now turn our attention to some of the patrons we might encounter that evening in the tavern. And again, we're going to use the chit selection process and meet up to 4 that evening. And if the characters, if the characters roll a positive 5 to 6 on a d6, they will elicit some additional information from the meeting, either from the individual or some willing chinwag. Otherwise, they do have the option that they can find out through other means, and they believe, and this is vouched by Godric, that Old Merith is considered to be a good source of information. And of course, we do have Godric by our side, and we say, well, where is the other one that was with you? And he says he is back in Dunmere. He had other business to attend to, and it was just me that returned. I managed to get back before you because I was transported with my other associates in a horse and cart, so we managed to make good time. Right, so I'm going to have to get my chits out again, and this time I've got 8. So I've got 8. I'll add 7 and 8 into this. Put this into my cup, my shaker, and so we're back in the inn. It's turning into evening. I wouldn't say that the mood is very uplifting or it's joyous. It is probably quite quiet and staid, and there does seem to be some rather strange occupants in this inn. It's not your typical rowdy medieval, they're all jumping on the table type stuff. With some good entertainment. It really is quite a somber affair, with nooks and crannies and all sorts of dark areas, people lurking in it. So what are we going to get first? And we're going to do 4 of these draws, and we get number 4 first on our chitometer, and number 4 is a chap. We see a pale youth, and Godric says, yeah, this is Eric Hollowborn. He spends his night sketching the ruins and the hills beyond. Very strange pursuit. He speaks to no one and always sits facing that window. Our locals will mention that he is a scholar from the Academy in Dunmere, researching ancestral echoes, which is all very strange. He's not really one of us, and he's been here for quite some time, and he just waits around in kind of moody silence. Some swear his sketches change when no one's looking. So that is the information that I can impart to you. This is the rumours that follow him around. I would say that he's probably not really one you really want to interact with for the time being. Maybe he has some information that you want to, as you have formed a bit of an opinion of the place, maybe you want to follow up with him. But that is Eric Hollowbone. That is his name, and that is his background. We go, well, this sounds quite interesting to us, Godric, but we have not the time to trifle with obviously an artist who is taken away with his muse. He has been possessed by it. Maybe at some later stage, particularly after we've had some of this watered down ale, we might think about a liaison with him. So we've got one more, and what we're going to have. We've got number 5 this time. And number 5 is, oh dear. So this is Liza and Marn, the twins. So working in the tavern are 2 indentured workers. They appear to be very thin, very quiet. They sweep the floors, serve ale, and the church bell sounds, and suddenly they vanish. They disappear, and this seems very strange behavior. We have noticed that neither speaks, but they are humming this haunting melody while they work. And this is really, really quite off-putting to us. We've noticed them just kind of moving around us. And we say, right, is there any information about these that we can maybe discern? So if we roll a d6, and let's find out. Yes. So we get information from Godric and some of the other locals. Basically, that no one remembers when they first arrived in Wraithfield. They are quite mysterious. Can we go and speak to Merith and see? Even Merith doesn't even recall. It's almost like the memory has been clouded from her mind. So we think, well, this is even stranger. Liza and Marn, and they disappear when a church bell sounds. Very quiet, very thin. Yeah. So best off we do not ask any further questions on that one. So this is really turning out to be a bit unsettling for the characters. So what we're going to get as our next encounter, we get someone that is a bit more understandable. So we have number 7 on our list. And number 7 on the list is, oh my goodness, this is the stranger in the corner. So, and we say, who is that over in that corner? He is very quiet. He's hooded. He's silent. He's motionless. And we didn't notice him during the day. And he said, yes, that is the stranger in the corner. He's always there after sundown. All right. And the funny thing is, Godric says, no one recalls seeing his face or hearing his voice. But do you know what? His drink is always gone by the morning, and his coin is cold to the touch. So we think, well, what is going on in this establishment, Godric? I do feel quite sorry for old Merith. She is trying to obviously operate an honest house. And she has all this strange occurrences going on. And he says, well, this has not always been the case, and it's only been over the last year or so that it has got worse. The fact that this stranger appeared, and no one really interacts with him. It's almost like the patrons keep him at a distance. But it seems like he has a special relationship with Merith, because she keeps his cup ready without being asked. So, and we think, right, I don't think we really want to interact with this individual unless we have to. I think we will keep that for another evening. If we come back in triumph from this dungeon, maybe we can celebrate with the stranger in the corner. Maybe we can find his name. Okay, so we've got one more to find and one more to interact with. And I think we've probably got the most extreme ones on my list so far. Let's see if we can get someone that's a bit more understandable, that you would classify as a normal patron. So number 3. All right, okay. So we get, there is a lady, Sister Calwyn, right. She is a traveling cleric of the flame. And Godric says, yes, she is staying, as she would say, to absorb the decay of faith. And she appears that her robes, they're fine, but they seem to be quite stained with mud and travel. She actually does catch our eye, and I think probably Bartram goes over and starts to talk to her. And she says, hey, yes, this place is damned. I am only here fleetingly. I am on my way to meet my fellow sister, Incandescent. She is the matron, the abbess at the prison. I am on my way to see her. I had to stay in this place just to absorb how low these wretches had gone to. And he says, well, that's a bit strong, Sister Calwyn. And, you know, you cannot actually see in her eyes, they're hollow. All she does is speak of redemption. You know, she seems to be quite a fanatic. And also the other thing that he notices is that she has gloves on and she never takes them off. So, you know, she is quite a striking person. She's giving off quite an aura. You know, in the kind of matching stakes with Rowena, she's probably pretty on par. You know, it's getting up to that point. How are we going to find out any more information about her? So we'll get the 5 or 6. So we don't really know that much more about Sister Calwyn, apart from the fact that she really is quite an intimidating character. And I would say that even Bartram, with his loquacious manner and his quite charismatic approach, he tires of her after a while and thinks, right, I do not see any purpose in me continuing with this. We do have the point where we have now had 4 encounters. So what I would say would be, it is now nightfall in the Barrow Light Inn. So later that evening, as the characters try to sleep, they find out that the village may still be host to strange events after dark. Oh my goodness, it hasn't stopped. We're going to roll 3 times, 1 for the late evening, the night, and near dawn. Oh my goodness. So we thought we'd just gone off to bed. But, you know, it still carries on in the Barrow Light Inn. You know, have I ever come across a place like this? So we're going to get our D8, and I can get rid of my little chits because we've done all our chits now. That's it, and I'll get my D8. So we've got it. We're lying in our beds. It is now coming to a late evening. We get a 1. So we have what is called, as the hearth burns low, a faint whisper rises through the cracks. So a whisper beneath the floorboards. A name spoken in a child's voice. If answered, the whisper stops, but a small handprint appears in the ashes by morning. So that is what happens. We have a whispering voice beneath the floorboards. In the morning, when we awake, there is a small handprint appearing in the ashes by the hearth. This really is quite a supernatural event. It's almost like poltergeist. What else? You know, that was only early evening. What happens when we get into the middle of the night? You know, what terrors lurk? We get a 7, and a 7 is the empty bed. One of the twin servants, remember Lysa Halmar, is missing when it comes to dawn. So not only we have this little handprint in the hearth in the morning, but is it going to be Lysa or is it going to be Marn? You know, it doesn't really, you know, they're both kind of identical. So it is Lysa. She's missing. They go, have anyone seen Lysa? She seems to be missing. She can't answer anyhow because she can't talk. The other refuses to speak. Well, he can't speak anyhow. So we can't get any information out of Marn. He only hums their eerie tune. Later, they make a discovery. Muddy footprints lead from the cellar to the edge of the Barrowfield. And that's one thing I should have mentioned, that we do have a place of mystery quite close. And this one of the things that we did generate in our random setting generation process was a place of mystery, a place of dread, which was called the Barrowfields, and they are quite close by to Wraithfield, and I suppose that is a bit of a clue in the name. You know, they're all kind of connected. So these little muddy footprints are leading from the cellar to the edge of the Barrowfield. So quite an eventful night already, and we've still got one more to do. You know, my goodness, are we going to get any sleep? I suppose the main thing is that the characters haven't really noticed it. They probably had a bit of heard the whisper. They probably haven't heard the missing child. But 5, a stranger's shadow. A shadow passes across the ceiling, though there is no one walking above. It stops above the sleeping character with the lowest wisdom. So, who has the lowest wisdom? Let's find out. The sleeping. You know, this is really getting very, very creepy. So, Fenna has a wisdom of 7. Bartram has a wisdom of 13. Halmar has a wisdom of 7. And Rowena has a wisdom of 15. So it's a playoff between Fenna or Halmar, who is going to be blighted by this spirit. 1 to 3 is Fenna. So no, it's Halmar. He is going to be haunted by this this stranger's shadow. So a strange shadow passes across the ceiling, though there is no one walking above. It stops above the sleeping character. So they stops above Halmar and lingers. Halmar wakes cold and exhausted, as though something fed on their dreams. Oh dear. So there's this strange shadow, there's the missing child, and there is the whispering from the floorboards. So what an eventful night. And we wake up in the morning and poor old Halmar is a bit exhausted, and he says, I've got a lot of adventuring to do today. You know, I'm a bit of a broody silent one, but my goodness, this has really put me off on the wrong foot. You know, I probably need some good porridge to get me started, and that is what we order. We say, oh Merith, you know, forget all this black bread, get us some piping hot porridge. You know, that's what adventurers need. So the next day, adventuring commences. The characters have agreed. You know, they are sitting. They're digesting the night's occurrences, and they do come to quite the starting conclusion that something is afoot in this village. It really is quite haunted. It's almost right riddled with happenings. They feel that they must get to the source of this malaise, the source of this you know, this emanation of corruption, this emanation of the hauntings. You know, they think that the ruined cellars, that is our target. So the characters have agreed to target these ruined cellars, where several cottages have collapsed into the ground, revealing an old stone stairway. Beneath this, they believe, lies the ancient crypt and catacombs. And I'm saying that each has a basic pack, which they have collected on their travels and were partially equipped with during their briefing and mercenary employment. So remember, they were part of this mercenary band. It was ambushed. They had already collected some equipment, and also they had been issued some equipment as part of the band. And this basic pack, apart from the, you know, because I do have their character sheets, and they have things like armor and weapons and some of the basic tools of the trade, you know, like the thieves. I'll just quickly show you these. We've got all our weapons, equipment, like take Fenna for example. She's got a leather armor, a short sword, and also she has these picks and tools. But in addition, they will have a backpack, 6 torches, tinderbox, flint and steel, wineskin, water skin, a winter blanket, rations for 1 week dry, a large sack, 2 small sacks. It weighs 20 pounds. One character will have a lantern and 2 flasks of oil. And just as a kind of general consensus, Rowena has agreed to do the mapping. and she thinks, right, well, I'm quite, you know, I do a lot of writing with my my role as a magic user. I will, I can think I can do the mapping, and we agree that is a good role for her. While Bartram, he's going to hold the lantern. He's going to hold the lantern of light, um, and he's also agreed to act as caller, an effective leader of the party, although he's probably more first amongst equals. So you would ordinarily say that Halmar, with the charisma of 16, is the leader, but Bartram has got a charisma of 15, and he is also quite an aristocratic, noble type, and he feels almost obliged to be the leader. And Halmar is this brooding, quite detached, stoic wanderer, so he's maybe not in a position where he feels that he needs to exert his leadership ability. However, because we're all quite forceful individuals, and particularly Fenna, who is quite chirpy and independent, and then Rowena is always a very quite abrasive in her manner. We are all basically, I wouldn't say a democracy, but we are all of an equal voice in the party, and that's going to make it quite interesting when it comes to some of the decisions. And so the final thing I need to do, and this is as a kind of preamble to the next adventure, the next session, is to give you an outline of what my dungeon adventuring system is going to be. I'm going to start with a pre-generated map of the dungeon. Exploration will involve drawing a set of chits for rooms, which are pre-designed, and another set for specific corridors. So I'm going to be using my chit system, and I will have, say I have 5 rooms and I have designed them, and maybe 3 I've got as empty, so I'll have 8 chips, and I will just randomly select those, and I will start to populate the dungeon as we go through it. And also when we enter a corridor, I will have some chits for corridors. And as I was saying, a proportion of the rooms will be empty, but they may still have interesting features. So even though I say I get number 8 is an empty room, I will have 8 maybe keyed to a key, and 8 also says, well, it's got a certain amount of dressing, maybe it's got a chest in it, maybe it's got some wall hangings, maybe it has some horrific or runic incantations on the wall, that type of thing. And also I'll be doing it based on a release schedule of tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3, and I will have my first set of chits will be tier 1. Once the next tier is used, when the prior tier has been exhausted of available chits. So I will progress, and hopefully I can manage how difficult the dungeon is, and also reach kind of almost milestones as we go through, and I can almost control it that way, but I still have this massive random input to the overall design, and I get the feeling that I am going into basically a random dungeon, although there is an overall scheme to it, an overall plan, and we get the sensation of randomness. I'm going to use some oracles that I can insert as required to determine the reason for findings or more information about location. Well, that's pretty standard. And also I'm going to have the adventures. They're going to be driven by their aspects, which will determine their character actions and motivations in the dungeon environment. So that should be quite interesting to see how all our 4 characters hit off each other and react to situations. All monsters encounter will have a gothic twist in terms of their look and feel, and that's what I want to inject, and that's one of the things I was talking about at the start. I basically want to twist everything to a more kind of gothic look, and it's really quite dark and mysterious, and really quite, you know, that supernatural layering that we have of atmosphere. I will have a tailored wandering monster table for the current dungeon complex, and horror events might occur in the setting along with what would be deemed standard dungeon events. So I will have my event meter throwing out certain little things as we progress. So I think with this combination, we're going to have quite an interesting dynamic of interplay of certain things that are pre-designed and certain things that are random. And I think the whole kind of dynamic of it you will get quite a random with a almost like a natural progression as we go through with this tiering system. That is the hope, and then we ultimately get to an objective. So I'm quite looking forward to getting that going. That is what we're going to do in the next adventure. We're going to go straight, and as I said, I was going to make these a kind of back-to-back type thing that I will have very shortly after this. I might have one or two other videos in between. I'm quite enjoying doing my AD&D Appendix A adventure, so that's proving to be quite a bit of fun. But this will be coming very shortly to your screens, the actual dungeon delving for basic fantasy. And we can use all the kind of rules in this, and you're looking through it. To be quite honest, I would say that this is almost a kind of I wouldn't say a summarized version of BX, but it really is very, very similar. Things like the adventuring, some of these rules, the time and the skill, they are quite similar. Just the way some of it's quite logical, actually. I do like in the combat. I quite like the some of the systems. The fact that you have this attack bonus. Also, you are trying to hit. The armor class goes upwards. So the higher the armor class, the higher that you need on your D20 to hit, and you can use your attack bonus to improve your chance on your die 20 roll. And the defender can use their dexterity to improve their armor class, and I think that's quite a nice system. And the other thing I really like is, I've seen it in practice, is the initiative, where you roll 1d6 for each person involved, and you start to just go down through the order. I quite like that. It could be maybe a bit cumbersome if you have very large combats, but you can still do an override for your opposition and just say they have one initiative roll. And you just do it for your characters. So I'm really quite looking forward to getting that into play. And really, as I said, the purpose of this episode was really just to get us embedded into Wraithfield, get the feel of what the stakes are, the fact that, and almost to be quite taken aback by the level of almost like the haunting that has been applied to this place, the amount of the infestation of this corruption, how affected this village has been by these, whatever is down these ruins, and how this is manifesting itself in everyday life, and really making it quite intolerable for the people of this village. And that is why they have come to our brave characters, all four of them, to relieve them of this situation. So it's your classic, the villagers looking for brave adventurers to rescue them, and in the meantime, the villagers, the adventurers, could potentially get some gains down in this dungeon, some reward, and push forward their, I suppose, their agenda of accruing experience and going up levels. And also we do have, we've now been introduced to all four of them, so we do know a bit more about their backstories. And apart from, I would say, Fenner, the other three are quite haunted individuals, but that is quite typical of the people in this world, because, as I said, effectively a society is disintegrating around about them. It is a place of doom. It's a place of basically it's decaying. Everything is turning, going south, as you would say, and they have to deal with it as individuals, and some of them are better with dealing with it than others. But one way of release, I suppose, is adventuring, and this is a positive thing that we can go up levels and maybe tame our personal demons through aggrandizement and improvement. And maybe make this part of the world a bit better place. It might be hopeless, but everything is you've got to have some form of hope, even in this blighted world setting. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and you are looking forward to our dungeon adventure. They're basically on the brink of the steps. They will be going down into the random dungeon that I have next time. So I hope you come and join me then. Look forward to seeing you then.